Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Huzur is saying that today is the first fast of this particular month of Ramzan and the first dars, and all those who are present or who are watching us from far away, or to all of them I wish Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and may Ramzan Ramzan Mubarak to you all. Huzur is saying our program begins at 11:30, and Huzur is saying that he had Jaswal Sahib suggested to him that Huzur should come a few minutes late so that his communications are established. And Huzur is saying this is why I have intentionally come a few minutes late, and this is the way it is going to be in the future. As well, Huzur asked Jaswal Sahib if everything was okay, and he said yes. Today the dars will begin from Surah Aale-Imraan, verse 180. Huzur was asking if we've indicated where we're supposed to start from. Huzur is saying this is where I shall begin. This is from the book that I shall read from. Huzur is saying that you should look at the verses before this verse as well. Today, Huzur is saying that we're beginning the dars from verse 180, and before that, a verse should be repeated, so that it should be in continuation.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. ولا يحسبن الذين كفروا أنما نملي لهم خيرا لأنفسهم إنما نملي لهم ليزدادوا إثما ولهم عذاب مهين ما كان الله ليذر المؤمنين على ما أنتم عليه حتى يميز الخبيث من الطيب وما كان الله ليطلعكم على الغيب ولكن الله يجتبي من رسله من يشاء فآمنوا بالله ورسله وإن تؤمنوا وتتقوا فلكم أجر عظيم ولا يحسبن الذين يبخلون بما آتاهم الله من فضله هو خير لهم بل هو شر لهم سيطوقون ما بخلوا به يوم القيامة ولله ميراث السماوات والأرض والله بما تعملون خبير لقد سمع الله قول الذين قالوا إن الله فقير ونحن أغنياء سنكتب ما قالوا وقتلهم الأنبياء بغير حق ونقول ذوقوا عذاب الحريق ذلك بما قدمت أيديكم وأن الله ليس بظلام للعبيد क्योंकि ये दर्स ज़्यादा तफसीली होता है इसलिए
Huzur is saying that because this dars is usually quite detailed, so we have only recited 3 verses, and perhaps we will only be able to cover less than 3 even. Huzur is saying the fact of the matter is that the best manner of the commentary of the Holy Quran is to collect. One should completely disregard those discussions in commentaries which have to do with why a particular verse was revealed. We should disregard them, and we should concentrate on the Holy Quran's own its own style of a particular verse and the verses around it, and how that sheds light on a verse. And Huzur is saying, but unfortunately a time came upon the commentators of the Holy Quran, in which they tended to find events associated with every single verse. There were some verses which were associated with certain incidents and which were the details of which were in the Holy Quran, and they should have found the details of such incidents. But from this, they come to the conclusion that every single verse should be due to an incident that occurred, and they used to search for such verses, such reports which would tell them about certain verses, and they also and then they would sometimes when they couldn't find any such authentic tradition, then they would then use the words, this has also been said about this verse, and by saying these words they gathered together anything that was said. And many of the attacks that the Orientalists make against the Holy Quran have been done with such references, and the people who are the commentators, they think that their job is done because they present a reference, but because their own honesty is such that when they discuss other verses or other matters or the Bible, they do research of certain references, and they judge them whether they are authentic or not authentic, and they make a comparative study, and they reject some and adopt some. And this method has not been forgotten by them. They know that such methods are used, but in the matter of the Holy Quran, except for very few, you would find an exception to this rule. The rule is that they choose such books of the traditions or the reports in which all kinds of reports, any kinds of tales, and even Israelite tales, they are all included, and often such references are given. And the one that who is the most who done this is the most is Waqti, because he has collected together all kinds of things. And but despite the fact that Waqti contradicts itself, but of Waqti, the ones that they choose are the worst, the least authentic reports, and this is what you find in majority of their this is the quintessence of what you find in their commentaries. So it is extremely painful to respond to their allegations, because they use extremely filthy language against the Holy Prophet ﷺ, and the basis of such attacks by the Orientalists is that they base their allegations upon all the different reports that have been collated by the Muslim historians or commentators, and who in the name of literal honesty, and such reports are sometimes collected 400 years after the demise of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, and they don't judge them, and some of them contradict each other, and those verses on which they are about which they are said, those verses reject them, they contradict them. But this was such a system prevalent at the time that a person was regarded to be a good commentator if he could bring together such reports. Huzur is saying, for this reason we have to get involved in this jungle of things, whereas it is not necessary to go into such things, because the Holy Quran comments upon itself by itself, and the person who studies it, the Quran offers him enlightenment by itself, and there is no part of the Holy Quran, no angle of the Holy Quran which is not lit up by itself, and it doesn't illuminate everything by itself. And this quality is mentioned in the Holy Quran repeatedly about it. And in contradiction to this, to descend into darkness and to try to discern light from dark reports and use that light to shed light on the Holy Quran, this is completely wrong. What it amounts to is that you put darkness on the light of the Holy Quran, and they pretend to make they venture to make people understand, to comment upon the Holy Quran in this way, which is completely wrong. Huzur is saying, so we are compelled to go into such the details of such commentaries and to inform or to find out about them. But as we undertake this study, we find some commentaries which are extremely beautiful commentaries, and the most important of those is the Imam Razi, who is saying that even now when I study commentaries for these purposes of the Darsul Quran, then such matters which used to come into my mind against commentators of the Holy Quran. And Huzur is saying that when I used to study the notes that I received from Rabba, then it was strange to observe that all of those things that I thought of for the first time, I find in Imam Razi's commentary, he presents the same response and responsive to the attacks of the other commentators, but he also presents the other people's points of view. So it is a treasure of knowledge. It's such a treasure at the end of which you manage to attain the true light. So Huzur is saying that as far as I am aware, I have not found any better commentary of the Holy Quran of that era than Imam Razi. And due to the era that they were going through, there are some defects which were removed afterwards by the Prophet Islam. But Huzur is saying that more or less, if you wish to take advantage of previous commentators of the Holy Quran, then instead of looking here and there, it's better to study Imam Razi. And also Zamashtri is also quite an enlightened person, and Tafsir Kashaf is also, from many aspects, it is extremely enlightened, and in comparison to the others, it is more illuminated, because he has not separated the Quran from logic. Huzur is saying, am I right? It is Hazrat Zamakshri who wrote the Kashaf. Huzur is saying that he is the one I mentioned. He has an extremely illumined mind, and because of this illumined nature, he was the best at this. And at the time, he was cursed, and people called him Mu'tazila, which means that one who is separates himself from the normal ummah, and he was called a non-believer, etc. But in defense of the Holy Quran and the defense of Islam, his commentary is much better than the other commentators who allege him to have separated himself from the rest. Those are saying these will be mentioned later on at various points, but this will say this was an introduction as to inform you of the difficulties that we face, so that you understand that when I present commentaries from other people, then you would understand what was the reasons and what kind of difficulties did they face. The first verse is verse 180. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ما كان الله ليذر المؤمنين على ما أنتم عليه. Allah would not leave the believers as you are until He separated the wicked from the good. حتى يميز الخبيث من الطيب. This Huzur is saying, remember that in regard to the Battle of Uhud, this is one of the verses that was revealed about that. وَمَا كَانَ اللَّهُ لِيُطْلِعَكُمْ, and nor would Allah reveal to you the unseen. It is not possible for Allah, although it is possible to Allah, but Allah does not regard us as being appropriate. لِيُطْلِعَكُمْ عَلَى الْغَيْبِ, that He should grant you ascendancy over the unseen. Huzur is saying here, "Yutle" means to reveal or to inform, and the same word also means to prevail over something. So when we say in Urdu that the sun has risen, this tulu, then that is also the same word. Huzur is saying that the when the people in Medina sang Tala al-Badru, when the Holy Prophet ﷺ came to Medina, he said that about the Holy Prophet ﷺ, that he has become revealed to us, he has become manifest to us, and it is not a hidden matter anymore, it is not concealed from us. So the Muslim Azhan who preferred this translation, and this is the reason why Huzur is saying that I am also translating it, that لِيُطْلِعَكُمْ عَلَى الْغَيْبِ. In another place in the Holy Quran, Allah uses the word yuzhira, which means to become manifest, or to become, not to prevail or to become victorious over something. So here the same meaning we could use ma kana Allahu liyutliyakum ala al-ghaibi, that this is not, doesn't become Allah that He should permit all of you to have ascendancy over the unseen, that is to that He could make you, that He would not make everyone a prophet. وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهُ يَجْتَبِي مِن رُّسُلِهِ مَن يَشَاءُ, but Allah chooses of His messengers whom He pleases. فَآمِنُوا بِاللَّهِ وَرُسُلِهِ, believe therefore in Allah and His messengers. وَإِن تُؤْمِنُوا وَتَتَّقُوا فَلَكُمْ أَجْرٌ عَظِيمٌ, and if you believe and be righteous, you shall have a great reward. This discussion, Huzur is saying, we will undertake later on as to what these two matters have to do with each other. After saying Yamiz al-Khabith, why does Allah speak of يُطْلِعَكُمْ عَلَى الْغَيْبِ? But Huzur is saying this has a relationship with the previous verse, which is important to be told, and after that we shall go into the discussion of the word for word translation, which the previous verse is وَلَا يَحْسَبَنَّ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا أَنَّمَا نُمْلِي لَهُمْ خَيْرٌ لِأَنفُسِهِمْ, and let not the disbelievers think that our granting them respite is good for them. It is good for them, for their souls. إِنَّمَا نُمْلِي لَهُمْ لِيَزْدَادُوا إِثْمًا, our granting them respite, the result of our granting them respite will only be that they will increase in sin. لِيَزْدَادُوا إِثْمًا means that it is not that people can have a free reign, that anyone can commit as many sins as they can. Every person has a limit of how much sin they can commit, and there is a capacity of sin, and they cannot go beyond that capacity. And the seizing of a person, or the punishment, is when the person reaches his limit, and this is one of the meanings of La yukallifu Allahu nafsan illa wusaha. That so you should remember that if there's a person who is involved in sin, and every step goes towards sin, and he is not getting any punishment, then this is the biggest dangerous thing that is evident about him. You cannot mean that he can do what he wants and Allah is not seizing him. It means that he has not reached the limit of his sin, and he will be killed when he reaches the limit of his fullest, when he reaches the full capacity of his sin. So Allah is saying that those stupid people who have disbelieved, they should not think that when we give them respite, it is good for them. This respite is granted to them so that they should increase in their sin until they can reach their ultimate capacity. And walahum azabun alim, and punishment that for them is a humiliating punishment. Huzur is saying here the word muhin. Huzur is saying, I mentioned this previously as well, but I will mention it again, that those people who are proud in the earth and they say, look, we've done this, we have done that, upon them there is humiliation in this world. And it doesn't mean that every person, this happens to every person. When such people, when such criminals reach their limit, and when Allah seizes them, they become humiliated in the world as well, so that no one can think that what do we know of the next life, what will happen to them. In this life they were saved, so their end is always humiliating, just as the end of Pharaoh. So it means that when they are granted respite, it's for them to reach the limit in their sin, and when they are seized, then it humiliates them in this world as well. Ma kana Allahu liyazra al-mu'minina ala ma antum alayh. Huzur saying, I've already explained this, I've already spoken about this verse. Then Allah is saying that these people are among you because some of the people who are being granted respite, they are, some of them say that they believe, and until Allah distinguishes between them and you, then they remain in your society, but Allah makes this distinction whether they are seized or not. The two don't have to occur at the same time. This is two separate topics which are being discussed here. If it is thought that they are granted respite, those who are being called Muslims, they are deceiving people, and until they reach their limit, they shall remain within you, then this can have a really detrimental effect on the believers, on the true believers, because then the personalities of the believers, then they can have doubts in them that what kind of a society is this. Therefore, Allah promises that you shouldn't worry. The greatness, the gloriousness of a believer, Allah distinguishes it and makes it evident that it is separate from believers, and then Allah informs people of this knowledge as well. But there is a particular method to this, and through that particular method you will be distinguished from them, not through giving you information and giving you news. And if you think that people will be granted news that such and such person is a hypocrite, etc., this is not Allah's style to give news, but the decision is that the believer will be distinguished from the non-believer, so that even in this world they become separated from them and purified and separate from them. So we're saying now we shall look at study the words of this verse. So we're saying that yamizu means maza yamizu mazan wa mayaza wa amaza ashaya farazahu an ghayrihi, to separate something, to take it away. Huzur is saying that, for example, when somebody says this person doesn't have the means, somebody doesn't know how to distinguish between good and evil. So the mental power of distinction which can separate the good from the bad, that is called tamyiz. And in Arabic the word is tamyiz, this capacity or power to separate the good from the evil, that is what is called. So it is the same word. And maza fulanun means in dakhala min makanin ila makanin. This certain meaning is also found in this, that maza yamizu, one of its meaning is mutaddi, and one who can distinguish between one and the other, and one of its meanings is lazim. In lazim it means they become separate by themselves, and to remove oneself to one side, and to make it lazim. Bab iftial is also used in the Holy Quran. Imtazu wamtazu ayyuhal mujrimun, I think Huzur said. O ye criminals, separate yourself from the good, from the believers. So maza yamizu mazan means to separate someone, to distinguish someone from someone else. This is found in every meaning of this word, and it has certain other grammatical features or styles, and which has got slightly other meanings, but mainly it is the same. تميز وإماز وإمتاز انفصل عن غيره one ghazala, I think Huzur said. It's the same meaning Huzur saying, which I have explained to you previously. In the Holy Quran, in one place, it says tamayyaz. The word tamayyaz is used. That is, it is used in the form of something tearing. تميز فلان من الغاز. Its translation is taqatta, meaning that somebody has become tamayyaz from with anger. So because it means to separate two things, so if somebody explodes or becomes crushed, or so if it's someone gets so angry that he explodes and is separated into small bits, so it has those meanings in it. It adopts those kind of meanings when used in this way. وَالْمَازُ وَالْمَيِّزُ. This is the exact opposite. It's also used in this manner. If someone is called al-maz and somebody's quality is recorded as called al-maz, then it means that he is so strong, so powerful, that nothing can break him. His nerves are so strong that no anger or any emotion can break him. So this is called al-maz. Sinnat al-maz is used for time of when one understands. Sanat al-imtiyaz is when someone becomes clearly distinct and successful compared to others. From Tazu, who is saying, I've already mentioned, is in the Holy Quran, used in the Holy Quran. Hazrat Imam Razi has, Imam Raghib has used the same, given the same meaning, so it is not necessary to repeat them. Takadu tamayyazu min al-ghaz. It is about to happen that he may tear apart from his because of his anger, and it may be divided into bits. Mumtaz al-Yawma was saying that I have already explained to you that today you shall all become separate. Now Huzur is saying that let us discuss the word al-khabis. Khabis means najas, filthy thing, and the fact of the matter is that it is the exact opposite of tayyib. Tayyib meaning pure and clean. Whatever is found in tayyib, if you think of the exact opposite of that, it's called khabis, and this is why the Holy Quran has kept the shajara tayyiba in comparison to the shajara sayya. That is the pure tree, and the tree that produces impure tree. So these two are in opposite in character. Here Huzur is saying the khabis is mentioned first, so it is discussed first. Here the people who discuss dictionaries, they say that it means something which is disliked, and everything that is haram. Taj al-Urus says every filthy or bad thing is quality is called this word. For example, kalamun khabisun, something bad words, or وحرام الصوت يسمى الخبيثة. So if someone commits an act which is haram, it is also called khabis. المال الحرام والدم وما أشبههما مما حرم الله. Haram wealth or blood which is not permitted to partake of, or all other things that Allah has regarded as haram are meant here. ويقال في الشيء في الشيء الكريه ويقال في الشيء الكريه كريه الطعم والرائحة خبيث. And often such things are also called khabis, which is karih tam. It means that it's eating it is not nice, and also it should be as far as the fragrance is concerned, it is not disliked. Huzur is saying that thum, which is garlic, this is also one of those things where Huzur is saying that garlic is also of those things which removes smell. Huzur is saying it's not such a such a evil thing that it should be cast asunder. It is such a strange evil thing that it can kill the horrible smells of stench of food as well. So if it is used properly, then it would be something pure. But if somebody eats it the way it is and go outside, then that smell would definitely be called khabis. Some people eat it because they think that it's going to reduce the blood pressure, and Huzur is saying that when such people go past, and you can smell the garlic. This is why the Holy Prophet ﷺ said that such things should not be eaten before coming to the mosque. So Huzur is saying that khabis can be something partial as well. So it means it's not necessary that khabis is something which should not be the use of that is haram. If its usage is tayyib or pure, then it makes its usage tayyib as well. If as it is, people use it for blood pressure, or sometimes if some meat that has a rotten smell, or for example, Huzur is saying that certain ducks, etc., or any watery fowl, etc., when to remove the smell from that meat, you can use garlic to remove that. Garlic is very good to remove that. So we're saying that don't think that if onions are called khabis, it doesn't mean that it is haram to eat it, or it is against righteousness to eat it. We're saying that radishes are also called khabis because of its smell. Therefore it is said, وَقِيلَ مَنْ أَكَلَ مِنْ هَذِهِ الشَّجَرَةِ الْخَبِيثَةِ فَلَا يَقْرَبَنَّا مَجْلِسَنَا, that whoever eats this khabith thing should not come to our gatherings. This is a saying of the Holy Prophet Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It doesn't mean khabith in the spiritual terms. It means those things which cause a stench in gathering. At-tayyib is the opposite. Huzur is reading some Arabic. If something is very tasty and is very pure, and it is beautiful, and it should be good in every way, and is sweet, and it is delicious and glorious and excellent in qualities. And tabat al-ardu means aklat, which means that when the field is lavish and verdant. I was reading some more Arabic, which means to feel happy, and somebody's pains and troubles are removed, and he becomes happy and at peace. Tabat nafsi alayhi. This means that my heart has become close to someone, and tayyib means to be somebody who adopts purity. Al-ghaib. So he's saying that everyone knows what ghaib is, or the unseen, but this has not been discussed in detail. But unseen is something relative, the thing which is unseen today, it can become the seen tomorrow. One person's unseen can become the seen of someone else. And when we say something is unseen, then we say it from the point of view of man's knowledge. In Mufdat Raghib and other books of dictionary, it has been emphasized that there is no unseen in terms of Allah, but as far as man is concerned, there are unseen. There is the unseen, and everything is present in the eyes of Allah. And if this translation is regarded as being correct, then what would this verse mean? Alimul ghaibi wa shahada, that he is a knower of the unseen and the knower of the seen. The fact of the matter is that this does not reject what these ulama have said, but in terms of people, some are unseen and some are seen. So Allah is saying that in terms of you, some things are unseen and I know about those as well. So they are not contradictory statements, contradictory terms. Allah is being presented as the one who knows about those things which are unseen by any eye or anyone who has any consciousness. All of those things are known to Allah, and those things which are known to us, they're also known to Allah. Huzur is saying, I've explained this before as well. Huzur is saying that to know the seen it doesn't seem to be a great thing, but often we are such that we do not even know our present, or in front of us somebody can steal something and we don't even know. Sometimes before our very eyes, magicians, etc., they play tricks and we don't understand, although they are present in front of us and yet we don't see them. So it's a great claim to claim that you know the seen, because most of the seen is also actually unseen, and every one who has consciousness, even the present, also transfers into the unseen. So when Allah is said to be Alim al-Ghaibi wa Shahada, that he knows the unseen and the seen, that those things that are very evident and clear to you, Allah sees them with a different point of view, because when you see those things, there are some aspects of which still remain concealed to you, but they're not concealed to Allah. In Mufradat Raghib, Ghibat is also mentioned under the same verse and the same word. Ghibat, or backbiting, means to say something about someone who is not present, to say something evil about someone who is not present. And al-ghayaba is also mentioned. Ghayabat al-jubbi says in Holy Quran, those places in a well where people cannot see. And ghabba is also mentioned, that is the jungle, and the reason is very clear, that there are many places to hide in a jungle. Often many robbers hide in jungles, as do animals. So anything that is unseen or can make the unseen, or is used to make unseen something unseen, for all those things the word ghaib is used in one way or another. And Huzur is saying that besides this, all of the dictionaries have given many detailed discussions of this, as to where the Holy Quran mentions غَيْبُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَعَدَ الرَّحْمَنُ وَعْدَهُ بِالْغَيْبِ ذَلِكَ مِنْ أَنْبَاءِ الْغَيْبِ. Huzur is saying there's no need for this discussion. The meaning of ghaib that I have explained to you, these are all similar to that. مَنْ يَخَافُ بِالْغَيْبِ وَيَخْشَوْنَ رَبَّهُم بِالْغَيْبِ. These verses can be given as examples of ghaib, and what one should think about this is as to what yakhafun bil ghaib means. Often man does not see God as being present, and often the sins are committed because one thinks that Allah is not there and one doesn't see Allah. And the Quran mentions such people of Allah who also have the times of unseen that come over them, but because they believe in Allah completely, therefore, so even in that time, they still save themselves from sin because they know that whether Allah is before our eyes or not, He is present in behind curtains and behind veils, and although we think we cannot see Him, but He can see us. When you're saying that I have told you about Yusuf al-Islam's verse, about the verse about Yusuf al-Islam, غيابات الجب وما من غائبة في السماء وليس إلا في كتاب مبين. Another verse of the Holy Quran. This requires more interesting, detailed commentary, which we should leave right now. He was saying that he gave another example, and then he said that yashtabi means to select or to choose. Jabaya al-ma fil ghazi jabal ma fil ghazi means he gathered the water in a container. A big container is also called jabia. Wajifanin kal jawabi, the Holy Quran says, Allah gave Dawud al-Islam such things which were as big as lakes. Jababtul khiraja jababatan jibayatan. This term is used, phrase is used, which means to collect together a wealth of khiraj. Al-Ishtibah says, وَإِذَا لَمْ تَأْتِهِمْ آيَةٌ قَالُوا لَوْ لَاجْتَبَيْتَهَا. When a verse that they think should come, it doesn't come, then they say لَوْ لَاجْتَبَيْتَهَا, why did he not collect them? In Ishtabata, the attempts after which water is gathered together is also used for ishtabaho. So he's saying that it is like a pond where the streams come from different places and gather together, and so they say that why did he not think of this verse by gathering together information from other people? So they say it in a disrespectful manner. And the Holy Quran says about Mecca. Who's reading the Arabic? Yujba ilayhi. In these words of the Holy Quran, those various blessings are mentioned, that they come towards Baitul Haram, just as the water goes towards a pit. So no effort or struggle or no instigation is required. Allah has made Mecca, it has granted it the attractiveness that just as something that is at a low level, the water flows towards it. So these blessings by themselves, they shall flow towards the Baitul Haram, that is in Mecca, and they do flow towards Baitul Haram. Now, so we're saying, let us discuss the reason for the revelation of this verse. Some disbelievers said that why other prophets, why the Holy Prophet ﷺ is made the prophet. Huzur is saying this is a completely pointless. Why would Allah be waiting for this question and then respond to it? There's no need to carry out this discussion in this topic. Huzur is saying, the Holy Quran is saying, the first thing the Quran is saying is that Allah will distinguish between the believers and the non-believers. And the second thing the Holy Quran is saying is that the unseen is not necessarily going to be granted to everyone, that everyone is going to be granted precedence over the unseen. To be granted ascendancy over the unseen is something which distinguishes the good from the bad, the defective. The revelation of Allah is the essence of all uh, distinguishment. So remember that this is the subject that's being discussed here. Otherwise, why should the news of the unseen or the Prophet would be mentioned here? Allah is saying that look, it's only through revelation that the prophets are distinguished from others, but it doesn't mean that those people who follow the prophets, all of them are exactly like the prophet. They are granted the same revelation, or they are given granted distinguishment because of being revealed to, because the prophet is distinguished. So if you wish to become distinguished, then you should obey the prophet, and the prophet is will becomes distinguished because of the knowledge of the unseen, and such things are those that he does not make from himself. He most certainly he is told that from the knower of the unseen, that is Allah. So this proves that the prophet does not make up anything from himself. It is very clearly declares the prophet's greatness and his. So if something is said which the holy which is so such a beautiful discussion in the Holy Quran and explains itself by itself, and then is for such verses when people comment and they say that when commentators say that this was in response to something that disbelievers said, Huzur is saying this is not illuminating the Holy Quran. The Quran is illuminating itself. This is akin to putting veils on the Holy Quran, and because of such discussions, either the opponents of Islam were failed to learn about these, or they got a chance to attack this. So people they say that people say that why were we not prophets? So why is the Holy Prophet ﷺ a prophet? And they are presenting as if all the Muslims were saying this. The companions of the Holy Prophet ﷺ were so humble that they did not even, they were scared to even be regarded as being anything, none of their quality being anything similar to the Holy Prophet ﷺ, and they regarded the Holy Prophet ﷺ as being far better than them in everything. So it is impossible that they would have this thought in their mind. So how could other people say that why are we not prophets, and why is he a prophet? This is against the history of the people of the book. So this question should not have arisen in the minds of the people of the book, and there is no report that such a matter would have been in their minds. So these are all imaginary reports. Ruhul Maani has also picked this up. Abul Kalam Sahib Azad writes that Allah will distinguish between the disbelievers and the believers, but if the hypocrites are not mentioned name by name, this is against Allah's style that he should mention each hypocrite. Huzur is saying, what does this have to do with this verse? He thinks that the word ghaib tells us that Allah does not tell the believers the names of the hypocrites. So this is such a small thing to allege this about the Holy Quran and about Allah. This is reducing its glory. So if you read such things, do not give it any importance at all. And because they are saying that this has become their habit, then they follow each other and they continue to say such things. So in future, in all books, you find the same influences, strange reports, which in this respect they are found in Ruhul Maani, which I think Arusi Sahib was saying he collected. One of them is that the Holy Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said that with me was my ummah was presented, and I was told, I was informed as to who believed and who rejected. That means that until the day of judgment, the people who rejected, their detailed names were given, and the people who believed, their detailed names were also taught. And this has been alleged against the Holy Prophet ﷺ, who was is not at all in accordance with the qualities of the Holy Prophet ﷺ that is explained in the Holy Quran. It's in fact is clearly in contradiction to that. So they say that when this news was reached the hypocrites, they said, they mocked and they said that Muhammad knows who believed in him and who didn't, and we are with him, but he does not know about us. When they raised this allegation, then they say that this verse was revealed. What a strange thing, Zuri saying. And then Quraysh said, "Oh Muhammad, do you think that your opponent is in hell and Allah is angry with him, and the person who has believed in you, they are in heaven, so you should inform us who believed you and who disbelieved?" And at this, Allah revealed this verse. Huzur is saying, have you seen the contradiction here? In this and in that other verse, look how clear the contradiction is. Allah revealed this verse according to them because of their response that about their commentary that you will not be shown. They did not demand that they should be answered directly by Allah. They said that it said about a prophet that he is been given the knowledge of the unseen, and I will ask this prophet. And in response to this, Allah is as if Allah is admitting that yes, this prophet has been given the knowledge. So if he has been given the knowledge, why won't he tell anyone? So the Allah is not saying, Allah is not rejecting this. Allah is saying that Allah does not inform everyone directly, but he grants a prophet the knowledge of the unseen prevail to a certain extent, and then he tells it to people because this is a name, this is the meaning of a messenger or a nabi, that he learns from Allah and he informs other people. He doesn't keep anything with himself. وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ. This is a great commentary of this. Is a prophet, whatever blessings he learns from Allah, he spreads it. So on the one hand, their demand is mentioned that the prophet should tell us, and then on the other hand, they say that Allah gave them the response that I'm not going to tell you. So they do you not see this internal contradiction? This is why these references are completely wrong, very clearly wrong, because they contradict with the words of the Holy Quran. And in those matters in which the disbelievers were trying to prove the Holy Prophet ﷺ wrong, they become helpers of such allegations. They're saying that this another discussion has raised here as to who is the one who is being addressed. According to Ibn Abbas and other most commentators, the addressed are the disbelievers and the hypocrites. مَا كَانَ اللَّهُ لِيَذَرَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ عَلَى مَا أَنْتُمْ عَلَيْهِ. In this, who is the person who is addressed? حَتَّى يَمِيزَ الْخَبِيثَ مِنَ الطَّيِّبِ. The commentators often say that the disbelievers are addressed, that you will be distinguished and thrown out. But Allama Zamashkhari, he says that the only difference that they said was that this only means hypocrites, and they say that who is the addressee, who is being addressed, and I would say that the hypocrites and the sincere people are both addressed, and this is very clear, and this is the fact that when the believers are being distinguished from the non-believers, and obviously both of them are being addressed, and the hypocrites, when he discusses the hypocrites, he is right that because those people who are with the believers, but in fact they are disbelievers, they are the ones who should be distinguished from the believers, and not the disbelievers themselves who declare themselves to be disbelievers. So we're saying that the Mashtri's commentary is in accordance with the Holy Quran, and it is correct. And the next matter that he discusses, he also understands very well, and he says that here it is not meant that Allah will name them. Allah does not say things in this manner. When the Prophet is given the news of the unseen, then this is a different subject, and it doesn't mean that Allah tells the Prophet and then distinguishes them, because if the Prophet says it, then the hypocrites when will the disbelievers the hypocrites believe, and everyone will say that we have been this is alleged, allegation has been made against us by giving the excuse that is Allah has done it. So they say that it means that such difficulties will be wrought upon you, upon which only the sincere people will be able to have patience, the whose hearts who have been tested through trials and tribulations and jihad. This is a very good and excellent commentary, because there were trials in the Battle of Uhud, and as a result of that, many hypocrites completely became distinguished from the believers, and as a result of that trial, some whole groups became separated, and in some people's hearts, certain things which they had been hiding became revealed, became clear. But this is what this verse is inclining towards, that there are still some among you who are not with you 100% from their hearts. There'll be trials in the future as well, and in those trials, the pure will be distinguished from the impure, and the pure will be distinguished because they believe in the Prophet completely, because they believe that he knows, he is a prophet of the Lord, who is the knower of the unseen. Because if they demand that tell us about the unseen, this shows their disbelief. So because this is what was done by the Jews from Moses, that until you show us God, we shall not believe in him. So the believers never even think of that. So if they are tried, then their steadfastness over faith, it is recognized by their steadfastness and patience, and their steadfastness as trials, and when they don't they don't fall at the signs of trial. This fact distinguishes them from the impure people, and it is also said that khabith means the disbelievers and tayyib means the believers, and the thing that distinguishes between them is jihad and migration. Here Huzur is saying that the hijrat and jihad, or they have brought it here for no reason. It is a general subject, and is always continuing. Whenever there is a trial, no matter what kind of trial it is, people are tried. So you can't say that during the hijrah, Huzur saying there are other trials apart from jihads which people had to undergo as well. One other meaning of tamyiz is that when within the believers themselves there are some weaknesses, and sometimes they are not completely pure. So the trials, tribulations have this advantage as well, that just as someone who washes clothes removes all the blemishes from the clothes and the spots from the clothes, then in this way the trials remove those blemishes from the believers, and they become pure, and they look pure and clean. And when Allah, the promise of Allah of Yutahhirakum, about Ahl Bayt, or the progeny of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, this is the same subject, that you cannot become perfect like the Prophet, but because of your association with the Prophet, Allah will have a special blessing on you, and He will specially purify you, and as a result of many trials you will become very pure, and you will rise, and your steadfastness will distinguish you from others around you. So this is the subject which is absolutely correct, and it is applicable here. It is it is applicable to this particular situation. Imam Razi says that with respect to the Battle of Uhud, all those hypocrites were evil who would stop others from joining the jihad. Then he mentions that look, it was such a great trial that befell the believers and the true Muslims who remained steadfast, so much so that when they were invited for the Badr-e-Sughra, this the smaller Badr, then without any exception, all of the true believers, they began to go, and they proved that the trial purified whatever faults that they had, and the fact that they were purified was proven from this. So Yamiz al-Khabisa means which means that Allah does this purification. The proof of this, the truth of this statement, is found in the Battle of Uhud. The strange things which are discussed in Bahr al-Muhit, Abu Yan has found these, has collected these things. That's someone says that why doesn't it happen that why don't we become prophets? And the Huzur says is completely unrelated. What this verse is speaking about a regular manner of style of Allah, and the Battle of Uhud is being explained here, and it doesn't have anything to do with any hypocrite or anything like that. Hazrat Imam Razi says the same thing. He says that the way people are saying that is distinguished is not correct, that Allah will inform you from the unseen as to who is a believer, who is a disbeliever, who is a hypocrite, etc. This is not what is being mentioned. This is Allah's regular style, that Allah does not inform the general public of the truth of people. The manner of distinguishing between the hypocrites and the true is through trials, and this has been happening since the old days, and the same would continue today. And as far as the knowledge of the unseen is concerned, that is something which is something which is special for prophets. Huzur quoted from a verse in the Holy Quran, and Huzur is saying it here. Imam Razi notices that the word Rasul is plural, and he's saying that it doesn't mean that this is Allah has said that this about Rasul, about prophets of old, and this has been going on since ancient times, because Allah has said here Aminu billahi wa rasulihi, and the word Rasulihi is not used, Rasulihi is used, and for this particular time the word Rasulihi is not mentioned, Rasulihi is mentioned, and this is the style and the manner which is this takes one towards an admittance of somebody's prophethood, and this has come true in favor of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So one must, the acceptance of a prophet's prophethood should be done. Therefore, this contains a warning. We were saying there isn't much matter of significance to be mentioned after this. Hazrat Muslim Mawlanho mentioned Liyuzhira, that at another point the word فَلَا يُزْهِرُ عَلَى غَابِهِ عَلَىٰ مِنَ السُّلَامِ مِنْ رَسُولٍ. With respect to these words of the Holy Quran, he says that Yutliya here means to be prevalent, and it doesn't mean the normal meaning. And this discussion the Muslim Al-Zanho has undertaken, which is very appropriate, because if it means that, if we take it to mean mere information, then we would not be able to say that any a prophet does not a prophet receives news of the unseen through visions and dreams, etc. Whereas this is the manner and style of Allah, that many people are born among the Ummah who have been given news of the unseen from Allah, but they haven't actually seen the unseen. The Prophet ﷺ has shed light on this subject in great detail, and he says that as far as the information of the unseen is concerned, he's saying that I'm not a prophet merely because of that. This is a style in the Ummah of the Holy Prophet ﷺ. There is revelation, and there are in the saintly people in Islam. This is proven that Allah would speak to them via visions and other in other manner. But if there is so much information given, as if there is one knows very well of the unseen, then this is applies to a prophet. It could apply to a prophet, and this is, one can use the word muhaddis for that. So it is someone, muhaddis is someone who knows about the unseen, and numerously knows in numerous manner. And so the previous people are also called muhaddiseen. The saintly people can be called muhaddiseen, but there was only one person who was supposed to say, the one who was supposed to be a prophet, he would only be called a prophet. So when the Holy Prophet ﷺ called the saintly people in his ummah as Anbiya Bani Israel, that they will be like the people of the prophets of Bani Israel, but he didn't call them prophets. So there was someone who was required, who would be an international prophet, who would be able to accept, who would address the whole of mankind. And so when the Prophet ﷺ was granted news of Korea, and that in a revelation, and he was told about the Tsar of Russia, and Huzur is saying at that time, what was the significance of Qadian? And now people know about Qadian a lot, in comparison, in contradiction to that. And the Maulvis these days they are taking part in this. They are, in fact, they are enabling the name of Qadian to spread across the world by calling all the Ahmadis Qadiani. But at that time, people hardly knew where Qadian was, where in Punjab Qadian was, and yet the Prophet ﷺ was told that the Tsar of Russia will be destroyed, and the Prophet ﷺ was granted the staff of Tsar, and he was shown the Muslims being like sand in Russia. So Huzur is saying, and it didn't refer to Russia itself. It meant the entire USSR. They used to be the USSR. So, and then Korea, the people of Korea, and the people of Japan and Europeans and America. You will not find any such revelations in any saintly person who passed before him. There is no indication of that. So, but the saintly people are muhaddis. They could be called muhaddis, but they are not. They are similar to the prophets of Israelites. So those particular prophets and all those particular saintly people in the Ummah of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, they would get blessings from Allah and they would spread them to the people who were within their small limited spheres. So if the word prophet for the Prophet Islam is not to do with the prophets of Israel. It has to do, his association was with the Holy Prophet ﷺ, but those previous saintly people reminded people of the prophets of Israelites, but the Holy Prophet ﷺ's subordination was granted to the Prophet Islam by his addressing the whole of mankind. So in this respect, there are such clear proofs of the truth of the Prophet Islam. And so whenever the enemy attacks the Prophet Islam, you should tell them that all the great saintly people who passed before him, what did they say about international matters? The Quran is filled with international affairs. Things were to be taken was to happen in America is mentioned in the Holy Quran. It was something which was completely impossible. That is the Panama Canal. The Quran speaks about the whole of the earth. So that prophet who was to be granted such a great part of the blessings of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, that the news given to him were going to be of an international level, and he is only the Prophet ﷺ. And when we make this claim, this is such a clear claim. Huzur is saying that let the ulama find us someone. Where can they find someone before the Prophet ﷺ who could have given information about the whole world? So Huzur is saying that this verse is enough to prove the truth of the Prophet ﷺ. Huzur is saying that this verse that Huzur is reading, that if you are true in your faith and you do good deeds and you adopt righteousness, then for you there is unlimited blessings. Rasul is saying, I mentioned the Prophet Islam, and this was not inappropriate. Most of the other commentators are repeating the similar things, so I'm going to leave those, and afterwards, if there is a need, then we may mention some enemies of Islam. But at the moment, I want to make you understand that this subject has a very deep relationship with prophethood. So it is saying that the incident in this particular verse is not something which was only going to take place in the Holy Prophet ﷺ's life and then stop. This is something which continuous subject. Whenever there are hypocrites which are in the believers' party, and people become doubtful, then if Allah wishes to make those people prevail, then Allah certainly push them through trials. But this distinction between the good and the evil is not possible without a prophet. Therefore, Allah says about the Holy Prophet ﷺ repeatedly that he brought people from the darkness into the light. Therefore, the prophethood is used for distinguishing people, and the most important thing in this regard is presented here is prophethood, and it is said that everyone is not granted a prophethood, and people become distinguished because of that. That's not the style of Allah. What happens is that one person is given the knowledge of the unseen, which have to do with the information of far off places, but some people do not even understand, they cannot even comprehend what someone is saying, but their faith is so perfect that because of their faith they they associate themselves strongly, and they are steadfast to such a prophet, and no matter how great the trial, they do not abandon him. And this incident has not occurred just once, it had to occur repeatedly, and it had to happen in the latter days as well, when the Holy Prophet ﷺ himself gave these news that in the Ummah there'll be many weaknesses and people will be associated towards me, but Islam will remain only in name, and such things will happen. So the Allah who is who is telling us about his qualities, why will he go to sleep? It is not possible. And the word Rusulihi, just as Imam Razi has noted, informs us that this is referring towards a manner of a style of Allah which has always been happening, which is so whenever Allah distinguishes between good and evil, when Allah distinguishes the good from the bad, he doesn't inform each person as to who is an evil person and who is good. These are childish things. Allah does so through via prophethood. The knower of the unseen raises someone who is granted knowledge of the unseen, and this often tells them, and this informs them that most people cannot possibly know about these news. So such things, you're saying, if everyone can take part in that, then what is the point of, what is the special thing about a prophet? Most people don't understand what is going on, but the people believe in them, and their belief in them is so perfect that no matter how great the earthquake, they remain steadfast upon their foundation, and no earthquake can ever destroy their building, the structure. And this is the subject which is explained greatly in which became manifest in the Holy Prophet ﷺ's earlier times, and it had to be manifest in the latter times as well. But because where the Holy Prophet ﷺ has given us news of the latter days, the scenario printed is extremely horrific, and it is so horrific that it seems as if faith has completely left, and the Muslims were spread across the world, and the Holy Prophet ﷺ was told that the it would be as if the faith has abandoned the earth and gone to to a star called Surah. So therefore, Huzur is saying that the Holy Prophet ﷺ said that the faith shall go towards a, a star, and a prophet would be required to bring it back. And then the Holy Prophet ﷺ said that among the non-Arabs, someone will be born, or some people will be born, who will be granted the capacity to begin to bring back the faith from the faith that was abandoned. It will be re-established upon the earth, and as a result of that, that party of the believers will be formed, which will be a clear example of distinguishing between the good and the evil. And the same subject be will be seen in them, that those weaknesses that are still in them, then after every trial they will become purified, and they will become better than before. And this is one of the special things of a trial, that which distinguishes it from punishment. So if you want to see the punishment away from, if you want to see what punishment is and what the trial is, then at the time of trial, the believer's belief in the unseen increases, and the disbeliever, he abandons even the faith that was apparent to him, and he trips and falls outside the pale of the faith. So this subject, which happened previously as well, it would also happen, it continues to happen now. So here Huzur is saying that
आमिनू बिल्लाहि व
أعوذ
रसूलिहि
بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وما كان الله ليطلعكم على الغيب ولكن الله يجتبي من رسله من يشاء فآمنوا بالله ورسله. So Allah is saying
इन तुमिनू व
here
तत्तकू
that believe
अगर
therefore in
तुम
Allah and His
ईमान लाओगे और
messengers
तकवा
وإن
इख्तियार
تؤمنوا
करोगे
وتتقوا,
फलकुम
and
अजरुन अजीम
if you believe and be
तुम्हारे लिए
righteous
बहुत
فلكم
बड़ा
أجر
अजर
عظيم,
होगा।
you shall have a great reward.
इस लिहाज से हज़रत यूसुफ
So in
अलैहिस्सलाम
this
के ज़माने
respect,
पर भी
in the
इसी आयत की
time of the
मुदाफ़ात का
Prophet
तकाजा रहा
Islam,
है और
this
ये
the
बातें
same
इसके
blessed
अंदर
verse applies,
ऐसी
and
मख्फी भी नहीं कि नज़र ना आए।
these
जब
are
आप
not
तरतीब
so
से इन आयात
concealed
का
within
मुताला
this
करते
verse
हैं
that you can't see them. When
बिल्कुल
you
खुलकर ये बात
study
आप
these
समझेंगे
verses
जब हज़रत
in
मसीह अलैहिस्सलाम
order,
के
then this
हालात पर
becomes very
इस्तेमाल
clear.
करते हैं
And when you
पता
apply them
चलता
to
है
this
कि
to
कुछ ऐसी
the
गैब की खबरें
to what happened to the
जो
occurred
कुरान
to the
में
Prophet
दी हैं
Islam,
उनकी
you
तायीद
understand that those
वैसी ही खबरें हज़रत
knowledge of
यूसुफ
the unseen
अलैहिस्सलाम
that
के
was
साथ
given in the Holy Quran
और
is
आपके गैब पर
like
ईमान लाने
them.
वालों ने जब बाद के ज़माने में
Information
पुख्तों
was or news was revealed to the Prophet
मुसलमान जो आगे
ﷺ
बढ़ते
about the
गए
unseen, and when people saw
और
those things
ये
coming
वो
true,
पहलू
then they
है
went
गैब
ahead,
पर ईमान का जो
they
दरअसल
went
सबूत है।
advanced in their faith, and this
हज़रत
is
यूसुफ
what
अलैहिस्सलाम के
is
ज़माने में बाद
actually
के
distinguishes
यों
people.
पर
In the time of the
इख्तलाफ
Prophet
पर्दे थे
ﷺ, there was
और जो ठोकर खाने
some
वाले थे
certain
उसको
veils
सच
of
कहते
doubt upon certain
लेकिन
prophecies, and those people
आइंदा ज़मानों में ये बिल्कुल
who
निशानी के
could
साथ
trip, they
वाक़ई हैं।
tripped and they fell away.
तो अल्लाह ताला ने
And when
वो
those
पहले जो
prophecies
पर्दे थे
came
उसको
true
भी उठा दिया
later on, then
और
Allah
रोशनी की
removed the
तरफ
veils that were there
जारी किया।
previously as well, and Allah
इस मजमून
manifested the
का
truth of the Prophet
मसीह के
ﷺ
नज़ूल
like
से
a
मुताल्लुक़
clear
रखता था।
day. And this
हज़रत
subject has
मसीह
to
मौऊद
do
अलैहिस्सलाम
has a very strong
अपनी
relationship
किताब
with the coming
कुरान
of
के
the
निजात
of
कैसे हासिल
Jesus.
फरमाते हैं
The Prophet
उसमें
ﷺ in
उस
his
पर
book
रोशनी
called
डालते
How
हैं
to Escape
मनारा
from
बैज़ा के
Sin,
बारे में।
the Prophet ﷺ
वहाँ
sheds
फरमाते
light on
हैं
this
कि
with respect to Menara
हमने एक मनार
Baza,
बनाया है
the that
उस
is
पेशगोई
the
को
white
की
tower.
रियायत
The
से
Prophet
जो
ﷺ said that we made
मसीह
a
के
tower
मनारा बैज़ा पर
which
या उसके पास उतरने से
in
ताल्लुक़ रखता
which has to
है। एक
do with the
जाहिल ये ख्याल
fulfillment
कर
of the
सकता है
prophecy of
कि मनार तो पहले
the
होना
Messiah
चाहिए
coming near
और
a white tower. A
फिर दावा
ignorant
करना चाहिए।
person can say that the
मनार
tower should
पहले
have been
मौजूद
near
होना
there
चाहिए
first, and then
और
the
उस मनार
claim
के पास आके उसको समझना
of
चाहिए।
being a Messiah should be made, and people.
हज़रत मसीह मौऊद अलैहिस्सलाम फरमाते हैं
The
कि
Prophet ﷺ
इनको
says
समझते नहीं
that they do
दरअसल
not
ज़ाहिरी
understand this
मनार मुराद
subject,
नहीं है ये
and
एक अलामत है
this is not
उस
a
मनार की जिसका जिक्र
a
चल रहा है
material
और उस मनार पर
tower is not
उतरने
being
वाला जो
mentioned.
मसीह है
A,
उसका हाल
a metaphorical
फौरन रोशन हो जाता
tower is mentioned,
है। एक ज़माना
that
उस पर ऐसा आना था जिसका
wasn't to
ज़हर उस
be
ज़माने में
he
सकूका
wasn't
था
to be made
जबकि मसीह पर शकूक के
clearly
पर्दे पड़ने
evident,
थे उसकी खबरों पर
and
तबस्सुर उड़ाए
shadows
जाने थे
or veils of doubt had
उसको
to fall
मुजज़े
over
के
the
तौर पर
Messiah,
मशहूर किया जाता
and
था
he had to be
और ऐसा शख्स
made known
जिसके
as a
साथ
false
ये सलूक
person,
हो रहा हो उस दौर
and
में
a person who's
उसे
being treated
मनार
in
पर
that
उतरने वाला
way.
नहीं कहा करते थे।
Then at that time you cannot call him
मनार
someone
हक़ाइक़ तो
who comes
रोशन दलाइल
down
का निशान है।
upon a white
इंदा मनारतिल
minaret.
बैज़ा
So
जो फरमाया गया उसका एक माना है मनारा
so
पर
in the
तुम्हारे
Manat
कदम से
al-Bayda
कदम ये
means
एक माना है।
that his steps will be
तो
on
मसीह के
the minaret, or he will
नुज़ूल
be
के
near the
वक्त
minaret.
ऐसा
So at
नज़ारा
the
होगा
time of
गोया वो अभी मनार
the
पर खड़े
descent
हैं
of the Messiah,
मनार
it
के
would
करीब
appear as if he has not yet
लेकिन एक वक्त ज़रूर आएगा
gone
जब वो
risen upon the
दिन ब दिन
minaret. It'll
जैसा ही
seem
रोशन
that he
उसकी
is
बढ़ती
near
जाएगी
it, but
और क्योंकि
day
ये
after
मनारा से
day
मुराद
his
जो है
light will become
वो
brighter, and
पाकबाज
because
इलाही वजूद हैं जो
minaret
मनारों की
actually
तरफ बुलंदी
means
करते
those
हैं
blessed people who
और
are
दूर दूर
like
दुनिया को रोशन
minarets in
करने के लिए
their
बनाए जाते हैं
in their statuses, spiritual
इसलिए
statuses,
मनारे
and
की
they are
तफसील
born to give
आगे
light
यूसुफ
to
साहब फरमाते हैं
the
मुझको
surrounding
वाज़ेह
areas.
आएगी
So the Prophet
और उस
ﷺ says
वक्त
that this
जबकि ये
will
शकूक के
occur,
पर्दे
this will
उठाए जाएंगे
apply to
और मेरी
me, but
पेशगोइयाँ
only
इखलास
when
के साथ पूरी होंगी
these veils of
और एक
doubt
ज़माना
are
आने वाला
removed
है
and my prophecies
जबकि
are fulfilled,
मैं
and
वो
that time
मनारा
is about to
बैज़ा
come.
बनूंगा जिसका दरअसल रोशन
And
का
he said
जिक्र
that
है
then he would then
और ये
become
मनारा बैज़ा जो
the
मैं बनूंगा
minaret, the white minaret,
ये
which is
एक सिंबल बन
spiritually
जाएगा
meant here. And
इन
this
बातों के सबूत
minaret,
के
white
तौर पर
minaret
जो
that
आज
I'm making,
मौजूद
that
है।
is in Qadian, will
आज ये
become a
मनारा भी
proof
तो
of
आज ये
those
कायम है
times.
लेकिन
which are to come. At this time you are mocking at this, but a time will come when it will be proven to you that all of the things that I have said were true. So the great manifestation of being a Messiah was not the first initial was not the initial coming of the Messiah. It would be similar to the first Messiah, but then slowly his manifestation became so clear that it took over the entire world. The Prophet ﷺ said the same would occur with the second Messiah. So today you see me in veils of doubt and concealment. This is exactly as it should have been, because the same was done to the first Jesus, but when that his manifestation, where he would manifest across the whole world. The Prophet ﷺ said that this would definitely happen, and you will see it. Because is saying that now we have entered into this new era. Is a proof, and MTA is a proof, and the gentleman who has now raised his hand to say that there are a few minutes left is also a proof of the truth of this prophecy, that white minaret has become such a proof of truth of the Prophet Islam, that the Messiah who was next to this minaret is now upon this minaret, and he is being seen across the whole world. So this distinction between the good and the evil, which Allah has begun now, the prophecy of this was already contained in the Holy Quran. And is mentioned. So the prevalence over the whole world has to do with the prevalence over the unseen. So that time had to come again, when the gloriousness of the Holy Prophet ﷺ had to be proven to be better than all other religions, and this had to do with the knowledge of the unseen, and this has begun with the coming of the Prophet ﷺ. And this is something which all the commentators write, that the prophecy of kullihi, this is to do with the coming of the Prophet ﷺ, and that is when it shall come true. And we are extremely fortunate, and this is a great favor of Allah, that we are among those who are making the history of those times. Although we are unworthy, but bricks of such foundation are being formed.